Hi class, my name is Alex and today I'm going to be talking about the Poiseuille's law. I don't speak French, but this guy was a French physicist back in the 1800s. So if you speak French, let me know if I said that correctly. Poiseuille's law. We're talking about the resistance in our blood, okay? So Poiseuille's law has an equation here. So resistance will equal 8 N, which is viscosity, length, which is length, and then over pi, r to the fourth. So r is radius. Okay. This is raised to the fourth power. That's going to be important here in a second. So let's start with the viscosity. All right. So if we have a high viscosity, we're going to have a high resistance. So let's talk about that. So high viscosity, high resistance. And that makes sense because it's on the top of the equation. So high viscosity would be like polycythemia. You have a high hematocrit, so you have lots of red blood cells. You can kind of think of like honey going through a tube. It's going to be very slow, lots of resistance. The opposite of polycythemia would be anemia. So that would be low viscosity. This would be low here, and therefore the resistance would also decrease, so much faster through the veins and arteries. All right, let's go on to L, which I said was length. So as you grow and become an adult, the length for you will pretty much stay the same throughout your adulthood. However, it will change from person to person. For example, if you are very tall or very short or have obesity or are very skinny, that will change the overall length of your circulatory system. So let's start with maybe a really tall person or someone who's obese. Their length is going to be high. So high length, therefore they're going to have increased resistance, okay? Overall increased resistance. Kind of think about this, sometimes an obese person might have tingly sensations or loss of sensation in like hands and feet, and that's because blood's not getting there. There's a lot of resistance. The other way you can think about it is a decreased length. Let's say you're short, let's say you're skinny, you're going to have less length and therefore less resistance. That's why it's important to be healthy and exercise, and then your blood can go where it needs to go. All right, last but not least, we're going to talk about R, which is the radius. So this is the most important part because, like I said, it is raised to the fourth power. Everything else is raised to the first power, but this is raised to the fourth power. So you make one slight adjustment here to the radius, and you're going to have big effects on the entire system. So let's see, increase radius. Now this is an inverse relationship, so the resistance will go down. So if you have a big radius, resistance goes down. Now if you have a small radius, so something really small, then the resistance is going to go way up. Ways we can think about this. Let's talk about the sympathetic nervous system. So in a sympathetic response, let's say you see a bear and you want to run away. We want our peripheries, the blood, to get there. We need some energy and oxygen into our legs to turn and run away from that bear. So in that case, the radius to our extremities is going to increase. Therefore, the resistance, so the blood can get to our extremities so we can run away, is going to decrease. Let's talk about parasympathetic nervous system. So in that case, the resistance to our peripheries will go down. I'm sorry, not the resistance, the radius. And therefore, the resistance will increase. And that makes sense because when we are in the rest and digest phase, we don't need all that blood in our hands and fingers and legs. We want everything in the center here. We want to process our food and filter our blood and make urine and breathe air and do all the things that we typically need to do. So we're going to pull blood away from our periphery, and that means the radius will go down and therefore the resistance will go up. Overall, this is Poiseuille's principle or law, and let's talk about an example maybe where this doesn't work. So let's say if we want to do a sympathetic nervous system again, let's say we see that bear's back in the room with us, but hey, it doesn't seem to work. The radius in our peripheries and our blood vessels don't dilate like they normally should, and now we're not getting oxygen to our legs that we need to go and run away, and therefore we can't either run away as fast or even have the energy in our legs to then turn around and run. So that is what happens when Poiseuille's principle or Poiseuille's law doesn't really work. Same thing, let's say the parasympathetic nervous system. Let's say you want to digest that big old cheeseburger you had. Let's say you went to the fair the other day, got a cheeseburger. Well, if we can't pull blood from our hands and fingers to then process that cheeseburger, it's going to take a really long time, and that might cause some other problems down the line. So overall, this is Poiseuille's law. Once again, we're talking about resistance in terms of the whole circulatory system. All right, hope that helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment.